It's time to talk about the times because we are men of the times and a lot of stuff is happening. We need to talk about it. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone, to the Men of the Times podcast. It is great to have you back. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you being here with us as we talk about all of the most important things that are happening in our society and culture here in America and abroad. That's why we're here, trying to bring you some wonderful insights and actual news beyond what the mainstream media says is what they're trying to tell you, which is all propaganda, obviously. But as we get into all of this, I am your illustrious host, Justin. It's a pleasure to be with you. On my left, your right, maybe, is my good friend and co-host, T. Good old British T. How are you then, lad?
I'm
You doing all right then?
I'm
You doing
all right,
then,
mate. Yeah. I'm all right, yeah.
Yeah,
Doing all right, yeah. Had a top week. Doing all right.
What kind of tea did you have this week, T?
Nothing. I drink coffee.
Ah, boo. That's like very American.
I know. I've been Americanized in very many things.
Oh, well.
My taste of drink is just one of them.
Sorry. or good.
Morning beverage.
Ah, very nice, very nice. Well, you're good. Everything's well
Yep.
for the
Doing
most
good.
part.
Doing
Good
Doing
stuff.
all right.
Well, it's great to see you, my friend.
Thank you. Justin.
We're
Good to
another
see you too.
episode. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our good friend in the corner, Discount Jamie.
Hey guys.
Hello, Discount Jamie.
Just make sure
Let's see.
you're.
Oh
talking.
yeah, for sure.
Move it closer to you if you need it to. Yeah. You gotta adjust the shaft. That's how that.
The shaft.
You gotta
I'm
make sure.
adjusting.
I know this is the first time you
The more I
have one of
adjust,
those.
the closer it gets.
Oh, he's got a big boy mic now.
Oh, yeah?
He's on the real team now. How about it? Nice. Well, how are you, man?
Tired.
Discounting away, aren't you?
Discounting away. I'm counting my coupons,
Slashing your
saving
coupons.
them up, clipping on coupons so I can buy this insanely early morning flight that somebody else has decided that we're gonna fly on.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. Don't blame me. I don't know what you're talking about. Slashing prices, except on the flights.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what you get when you wait till the last minute. I don't know what else to tell you.
I can't help myself.
Oh, cool. Well, I can already tell we're going to have a fun conversation. Here's what we're talking about this episode, everybody. So, number one, I don't know if you noticed. Did you look in the sky? I hope you're wearing the appropriate periodicals. Yes, wear newspapers on your eyes to see the sun when it's an eclipse. That's what I meant to say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yes, so we hope you are wearing the correct binoculars, bifocals, and/or binoculars, glasses to look up into the sun, because there was an eclipse. It happened. And it happened here in America. It was a whole big thing. But we're not just talking about that, but we're talking about some of the interesting reactions that occurred, particularly from a congresswoman from Texas, a Democrat who may represent Houston. What was her name again?
Sheila Jackson.
Sheila Jackson Lee. Wow. God, don't you also just want to be a politician one day? You won't after you see what she said. And then also the movie Civil War, which we reviewed the preview, the trailer of.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing a part 2 on that since it came out, and we all either watched it and or watched reviews of it. So we have thoughts about that as well. And is America actually getting into a state of civil war? We'll do part 2 conversation about that. So let's get into it. Lots to discuss. First thing is this Sheila Jackson Lee?
Mm-hmm.
Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yes.
Oh boy. So Discount Jamie, this was the big thing you wanted to discuss tonight. And please, since it's your topic that you want to discuss, please regale us with what in the hell happened.
So there was an eclipse recently, which we all enjoyed by
Yes.
burning our eyeballs out.
Of course.
Actually, there was a statistical spike in Google searches for "my eyes hurt." This is true. You can
Honestly, I won't lie. I might have been one of those people.
We all did it. I did it too.
My fiance has the glasses.
Yeah,
So I went outside here in the back and I went up, but I would only glance at it. Like I didn't watch it. Like I went out in the back. I would look up with the things. Plus, it was a little broken. They had like holes in the middle of them. So if I looked through the holes, I would have probably burned my retinas.
Hmm.
So I had to like put my fingers where the holes were so that the sun didn't burn my eyes. And then I'd look up, I'd kind of see where it was, and then I'd like run back under the deck. I was like, I don't know how long you're allowed to like stare through and like just you're allowed to watch the whole time. Anyway, I don't like to take the chances. I didn't want to be one of those stupid people on Google messaging writing my eyes hurt.
So
I took just small glances.
we had goggles. I looked at it through the goggles, but I also wanted to see what it would be like without protection.
Oh,
So I took a little glance, just the tip.
just be careful when you
see
do
how
that
it
in
feels.
other circumstances, Discount Jamie. Always you should wear protection.
Especially around eclipses.
We'll get to that in the next
Yeah,
topic.
we'll get there. But anyways, so we all had a lovely time watching the eclipse with and without our goggles.
Right.
And
That's the word. Goggles. Thank you.
Yeah, whatever.
But we have like the goggles we have make you look like you're I forget what that movie is. But like there's like several computer like those computer games we played as a kid or like some of those movies. I forget what there's like several movies where you had those kind of like goggles that the guys wear, and they'd be on like magic powered or motor powered like blimps and stuff. Like the biggest one I can think of was like Warhammer, the game Warhammer.
What?
And
they're like the big kind of like
the dwarves with the big goofy
Yes.
goggles, and they're powering like the.
So our goggles were not goggles. Our goggles were like paper shit.
Oh, you got the paper
With the
ones.
papery ones.
No, we had the ones that are like the Warhammer game version.
Yeah.
Which make me look like a weird dwarf.
Anyways, so I
Anyways,
think
yes.
that we oftentimes forget how really insane some people that are running the country are. And this woman, Sheila Jackson Lee, who I did some research later, has a long history of these types of comments. She's speaking to a group of students, children, and made comments about how the moon is made up of gases and what else did she say? Like a lot of like truly unhinged things. She called the moon a planet that was mostly made up of gases, and she wants to be first in line to learn how to live there. That last part is cool.
Wow.
And I quote: "You've heard the word full moon. Sometimes you need to take the opportunity just to come out and see a full moon that is complete rounded circle, which is made up mostly of gases."
What in the? Okay, we have
and quote, continuing the quote, and that's why the question is, why or how could we as humans live on the moon? And are the gases such that we could do that? Continuing the quote, the sun is a mighty powerful heat, but it's almost impossible to go near the sun. The moon is more manageable. Apparently she has reacted quite negatively to people noticing
So
that she says publicly.
So has she had the powers that be,
come on, man.
like, to shut
Perhaps.
this
I'm sure
down?
it's out there and I just didn't look hard enough. But then I was on her Wikipedia page, the whole section about her gaffes. And I think at some point it stops being a gaffe and starts just being like
you're just stupid.
like a
Who they
mechanism.
are.
you are just a dumb person, and
And
yet you're writing legislation
so she has
voting on it.
I'm just gonna like go through a few of these real quick.
Please, let's do
lightning
it.
round.
Ding ding.
She has made comments about how North and South Vietnam are still separate countries. Great.
Okay.
At one point,
alright.
she wanted to. She was at the some operation center for NASA, and she wanted to find the picture that the Pathfinder rover had taken of the U.S. flag planted by Neil Armstrong on Mars. Obviously, Neil Armstrong never planted a flag on Mars. Upon NASA,
Some would argue he even planted a flag on the moon.
telling her that this is not how things worked, she pulled the race card and said, "Racism, racism." That's why you're not helping.
What if you pointed out that she made a stupid comment?
Well,
that they
no,
couldn't
because
show.
she called them racist for not showing her the picture that the rover took of the flag on Mars.
Because she said on Mars.
And then she said a bunch of other stuff that is like vaguely political, but like
we put a flag on the moon.
Comments.
Yeah,
Not
okay,
on
sorry, I'm
Mars.
trying to find this.
It's on her Wikipedia page.
Full moon is that complete rounded circle, which is made up mostly of gases, and that's why the question is why or how could we as humans live on the moon? Are the gases such that we could do that? The sun is a mighty powerful heat that is almost impossible to go near the sun.
I mean, you have to ask yourself, how did she get elected in the first place?
Right. She
It's
went
like-
to Yale?
She went to Yale.
She went to Yale?
Yes.
What?
But when did she go to Yale?
Well,
because
obviously
she's
a long
obviously
time ago.
she's not a young woman.
Right.
So it
Don't
must
say that. She might identify as young.
Well, we all want to identify as young. We're not there
I still do.
anymore.
Forever young.
But,
Yeah.
but you can't be young forever. But like, but she obviously she still went to an Ivy League school when it still had a resemblance of standards. So like, you must know that the moon is not made of gases.
She clearly doesn't.
Like, is this asking too much?
I think it is. I think you would be surprised how. I mean, I don't know.
The way
Like,
you say
can,
that,
you can
it's like
scam your way into and through these institutions. I mean, I don't know. I think that we as a society place far too high of a value on these types of institutional sign-offs. Oh, I have a degree from here. I have a certification for that. Oh, like I have
absolutely
reference from this guy. Like
Absolutely
it
true.
really doesn't mean
no,
anything
it doesn't.
anymore.
It doesn't really mean
anything. Yeah, anything. Yeah.
It doesn't provide any real measure of your competency for whatever role it is that
No.
you're trying to do by having a
But
connection or
who is voting
even a
for
degree.
her? And I'm sure her district is like overwhelmingly Democrat, and it's like whatever Democrat runs will win. Fine, but like she's winning the primaries. Right?
Well, she's been there since what, 1995. So
I mean,
30 years by this
still.
point.
But she's been saying dumb shit like this forever. This is not
yeah, but
like
do,
a
but do
news-
really
I know,
do
but-
people really pay attention down to the congressional level? You just vote straight
I
party
know.
ticket.
There's that, but also don't forget that people want people like that in those positions because they're easily manipulated.
Yes.
They'll do what it is you want because they just want to have the power and be in the seat and make the money off of it. So why do you want this is the dude, this goes back all the way to Alexis de Tocqueville's book, Democracy in America, when he this is like the one major thing I remember from reading this book is he eloquently stated, which I believe is a black man from France.
Alexis de Tocqueville? No, he wasn't black.
Who am I thinking about who was black?
The guy who founded the
Tupac.
great city of Chicago.
No. Oh.
What was his name?
Not Dumas.
It might have been actually, but his name escapes me. It was damn, that big
I think
street.
it was Alexandre Dumas.
Dumas? Might have been.
Something like
Discount
this.
Jamie, can you look that up? For
Yeah, look-
us?
look-
Yeah.
Look that up.
Famous black man from France. What am I supposed
De
to
La,
Google
De
here?
La
No,
Salle.
okay. De La Salle. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. La Salle.
Can you look up if
Yeah,
Alexis
yeah,
de
yeah,
Tocqueville
yeah,
was black?
yeah.
I'm almost. He's
I
definitely
don't
French.
think he was.
Maybe he wasn't.
I don't think he- no.
Alexandre Dumas definitely was as well. But
Alexis
maybe
de Tocqueville was very much not black.
okay. Fuck.
And
whatever.
neither was Alexandre
why-
Dumas.
I'm
Didn't he
almost
write
positive
the
he was.
Monte Cristo?
Who the hell?
Dumas wrote The Man in the Iron Mask. You're thinking of La Salle.
Nah, there's another guy.
Alexander Dumas. He did. He wrote the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yes.
Cristo.
Crisco.
Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, yeah.
And The Man in the Iron Mask.
He rated good sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh Christ!
But
Who was I
the-
thinking about then? I can't remember.
It must be that.
not just De
it
La
must be
Salle,
La
somebody
Salle, De La
else.
Salle.
Nah, maybe it was the French guy who was a cavalryman for Napoleon. Who was that?
Oh,
Darth-
was Alexander Dumas black? Here's the thing. The son of a man born into slavery, Alexander Dumas went on to forge a successful literary career, though not without facing immense prejudice.
Oh, so he was
I
mixed.
didn't know he was.
I didn't know that
Well,
either.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, all the
Okay.
pictures of him are black and white, and from the Google Images thing, it's actually quite difficult to tell if he's black or white.
Huh. Well,
Well, he was mixed.
Yeah.
So,
he's basically
yeah,
a Mona
makes
Lisa
sense.
of the racial
That
game.
makes sense.
How about it?
I guess.
Is he white? Is he black?
But no, it
Doesn't
was
matter.
so De La Salle. Look up De La Salle. So he's the guy who founded Chicago with the French explorers.
Are you or is it Dusab?
Du Sable,
Jean Baptiste de La Salle.
I think.
Yes.
This guy is white. This guy's definitely white.
Yeah. De La
Okay,
Salle is
Du Sable.
Du
must-
Sable,
Du
Du Sable,
Sable must
Du
have
Sable.
been-
like for Lakeshore Drive now. It's Lakeshore
Oh
Drive.
no,
DuSable.
Jean Baptiste de La Salle is some sort of saint. This is not the De La Salle I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who was the black guy?
There's a
who
bunch.
founded
There's a
Chicago?
bunch.
There are many De La Salles. I'm sure at least one of them is black. Like, it's not an insane last name.
Just how Jamie
Like,
is
whatever.
tired of us just telling him to look
Okay,
up
just,
shit.
You're not giving me specific things to look up.
I need to know now, who was the black guy who founded Chicago? I do this, I see this every
Yes,
year
Google
when I
search.
make my pilgrimage to the Chicago History Museum.
Jean-Baptiste Pointe du Sable.
Du Sable. Okay.
Sable.
Okay.
Yeah, because they just named Lakeshore Drive after him, which
Okay.
was stupid, but whatever.
Why
It's
was
fine.
it stupid? He founded the city.
He was
Because it's
black.
just Lakeshore
Jean-Baptiste,
Drive.
He was a Haitian
It should just be
American
Lakeshore Drive, not Lakeshore Drive.
trader of some sort.
Jean Baptiste du Sable.
Du Sable was a Haitian.
Biography. There are no records of his life prior to the 1770s.
Oh, that's fun.
da-da-da-da-da.
Great. Thanks, Google.
I thought he founded Chicago in like
Yeah,
1600.
Well, the point is, this doesn't matter as much as.
Well,
Okay, yeah.
As the
We've gone
point is,
way off topic.
Alexis
here.
So
de
off topic.
Tocqueville
Okay.
said that when it came to the United States of America, the best people, the most intelligent people, will not run for political office because political office will corrupt you, will make you do things that will go against your moral fiber, and the good people in America will not want to compromise that in order to be in the positions that and do the things required to be a real politician, barring the original founding fathers. But even then, a lot of them did a lot of things they really didn't want to do, but in some cases had to do, like the whole feud between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, who were great friends
Yeah.
for the entirety of their lives, except for the one time they were fighting for who was going to be president.
Yes.
And then they really did some nasty things to one another.
Yeah, the
but then ended up
Gaffe,
writing
yeah,
letters to each other right before they died. And
Yeah.
they're like, I love you, man. It was like the biggest bromance
I know.
of like
I
the
know,
revolutionary
I know.
period.
And John Adams was like, "Well, thanks for telling everyone in newspapers I was a hermaphrodite. Thanks for that."
Yeah. He's like,
yeah.
you're certainly not calling me daddy.
You know, one of my pet theories
It's the
is
joke that keeps on giving.
one of my pet theories is that we should start paying like senior federal congressmen, senators, etc. We should start paying them like huge salaries. Because we start
Why?
paying them huge salaries. We should pay them huge salaries
Oh, I see where
and
this is going.
prevent them from doing any other sort of business afterwards. Then
So that way they're already
yeah,
making so much
they're
money,
making
they
more
don't
money,
really
doesn't
care
matter.
about.
Yeah,
I
how much-
understand that,
but
but
how
there's
much
no
is-
way that that's gonna.
No, it'll never happen.
It'll never happen. It's not.
But
It's not going to happen. It's
it
not a
is
thing.
A
But-
functional solution.
It's
So
it's an
does-
interesting. It's
so-
an interesting idea that I don't think would actually pan out the way it's being prescribed.
So was the premise of de Tocqueville saying that basically only sociopaths would get into?
Yeah, basically, he said
Politics.
that the reason why
Well,
you
that makes
have
sense.
the corruptible people that you have now is because it lends itself to that, and then the smart people either don't want to get involved because they don't want to corrupt their and undermine their moral fiber and beings, and also, those people would rather be in the background, being the ones telling those people what to do
Yeah.
instead, because it makes more sense than having to put yourself through all of that. And again, all of the stuff that comes out, like when you run for office, like so much stuff comes out, they're gonna try and bring you down. So any little thing, that's why they have those handlers that ask you like all the questions about, well, tell us about every horrible thing you've ever done in your life ever.
Yeah.
Immediately, do not leave anything out. Tell us everything that could possibly be used against you in any attack ads or anything or whatever,
Was
so
that
that we
scene-
can start strategizing now how
Yeah.
to deal if it comes out, and
It
you know how
reminds
to
me of that
answer.
scene in House of Cards.
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, when
Mhm.
when the Kevin Spacey's character is trying to get that guy to run for governor, and that
Right.
guy is just like, "Have you ever slept with a proprostitute?"
Right,
And the guy's clearly slept with a ton of prostitutes.
right, of course. Who doesn't in Washington?
Yeah,
In all fairness. But,
yeah, exactly.
But the point is, for this congresswoman, that even though she went to Yale, blah blah blah, all these things in her district, that's why she's been there for so long. Discount Jamie, because people want her in power, and when you are there for that long, people can rely on you
Yes.
as well. That's why.
And she is
that's
a-
why. What's her face?
yeah.
In California.
Nancy Pelosi.
No. Well, her, but the other one, Walters. What's her name?
Oh,
The black lady. Maxine Walt.
Maxine
Maxine
Waters.
Waters.
Yeah.
That's why she. I mean, talk about another bimbo. I mean, she's also dumb as rocks, but she keeps winning because she's all reliable. She's
Yeah.
gonna toe the
Yeah.
party
Yeah.
line, and she's
Yeah.
gonna do
And if
what the donors and what the
and
corporate interests want her to do.
and the party hierarchy. And
Of course,
I will say
you know.
this about the difference between the two political parties, and you're seeing this right now, is that the Democrats are so much more frighteningly disciplined than the Republicans are.
Oh, the Republicans are
And
notorious
Yeah.
for infighting.
yes, yeah, and
100%.
you can always count on one or two Republicans wanting to make names for themselves or be mavericks that
It's not just
screw
that.
it
Like,
up for
there's
the entire
pockets.
team.
There's like cliques
Yeah.
in the
Well,
remember.
it's
Remember
the Freedom Caucus and
who are the people? Was it they were like their own separate group, and they were all for balanced budget.
you talking about
The
caucuses?
Tea Party.
The Tea Party.
I remember
Yeah,
those
yeah.
guys.
Remember the Tea Party? And they're like, we're Republicans and we're Democrats, and we just want a balanced budget. That's all we care about. And then it turns out
It's like
that they
great Mickey
also
Mouse voice.
thank you. And then it turns out they also wanted a bunch of other shit.
Right.
And then what's his face from Wisconsin? What the hell is his name?
Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan. And he was just like, guys, can we please?
I miss him.
Yeah, we all. He
was
actually was
great.
good. And then he was like, guys, can we please? And they're like, no. And then Trump came along, and Trump was like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Paul, I have your back. And Paul's like, oh, I hated you last minute, but now that you're here, my God, we're doing all the things I wanted to do.
You know who
It's just
else?
like,
Is,
what
was
the
he the
hell?
one who was obsessed with reforming Social Security, and it was
all
just
all
he
of those
was big
things,
on
it
it.
never happened.
all those things, and the
yeah.
Tea Party was like, no, we want to do the ballot, and then the other factions in the Republican Party, no, we want to do this. I'm just trying to think of
Well, that's
different
the thing.
voices. But, you know,
Both parties have what they call caucuses. They get together for like certain specific issues. So the Republicans have the Freedom Caucus, which is like that's one caucus, which is like really kind of like really no government spending
Mhm.
/ Social Security, blah blah blah. And then you've got the Democrat side is like the progressive. Their most famous one is the Progressive Caucus of like
The Squad.
yeah, the Squad.
There's the Black
and
Caucus.
Privilege
There's lots of
Army,
different
yeah,
caucuses.
there's
But
Latino
guys.
caucus
the
as
reason
well,
why
yeah.
the reason why the Republicans always mess up in these elections is one is you're right is that they're not as disciplined as the Democrats in a lot of ways, but also because they have so many different factions, which is a big thing that the founding fathers argued
They
about.
hated
in,
faction. They hated
yeah,
the idea
there's
of
tons
party.
of yeah.
They
There's
never wanted party politics.
yeah. Well, too bad.
Yeah, I know.
I mean they started it, but the other big thing is that the Republicans, because they have so much infighting internally, they can never get on the same page.
Yes.
Is that they don't get things done like they are now, and then everybody goes, "Oh well, okay, the Democrats might be doing dumb shit, but at least they're doing something." Some people might argue when the Republicans are in power, they infight with each other so much they can't ever fucking agree
Yeah, I
on
know,
what they
I
want
know,
to do,
and-
and then just nothing gets
Yes,
done.
and-
And it's like, dude, just pass anything.
mm,
Just
I mean,
pass something.
I could
and
be
and
wrong.
that's
I
why
feel-
I think the Republicans will lose the House.
I feel like
That's why they
both
lost
parties
this
do
last
this.
midterm.
I feel like
Yeah.
whoever is in power is like this, though. Like I feel like when
Not the
Democrats.
Democrats.
I feel
And
like
not in the
they-
90s. In the 90s,
I mean, I
got
can't
the
talk about the 90s,
Democrats. The
I forget.
Democrats. They stay on the same page.
They do.
And if you deviate from this page,
You out.
Nancy Pelosi will cut your balls off so fast it's not even funny.
Oh, you know
Well,
who I
she's gonna
miss?
eat a scoop of ice
You
cream
know which
first.
Republican I really miss? Do you guys remember John Boehner?
Yeah, of course.
I love John Boehner.
Okay,
John
Ah.
Boehner was awesome.
Can I ask you why? Because a lot of Republicans hate him.
So John Boehner, in
Why
my
do you think that is, and why do you like him?
in my opinion, and I don't know, maybe I just look back on the good old days with rosy-eyed glasses or whatever. right?
Yeah,
But
we all do.
I like John Boehner. I felt like he was extremely practical. He was a moderate Republican. He wasn't like hyper dogmatic like many people on both sides these days.
Hmm.
And he was just like seemed like a cool dude. And also, this has been validated by what he has done in his retirement, which is just smoke a ton. I think he joined the tobacco lobby and the weed lobby.
Brilliant.
Like it was something like that. And he was, I don't know if you guys remember this, but he was famous for crying all the time.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
he does. Okay, what I
There's
will
like big compilations of him
Hey,
crying
just
at
so you
like
know,
everything.
There's nothing wrong with a grown man crying.
No,
okay?
as
Of course
John
not.
Boehner
It's
We
showed,
all
Yeah,
have
it-
emotions.
especially if
John
you're
Boehner just
stoned.
has a lot of them.
Yeah, particularly if you're stoned.
It's-
Anything can make you cry,
especially
really.
if you're stoned.
Yeah.
But
So many
see,
pictures of him
I
crying,
have to say,
hilarious.
I have to say that and this might reveal my ideology or whatever. But like what you said there was a very interesting point in terms of like people are like, well, at least they're doing something. Vote for them. For me, my instant thought is no. I don't want the government to do anything. When I'm the
Agreed.
most scared when people are like, just do something, and it's just like, no, don't do anything, because that means you're gonna pass through really unthought out laws, which is going to impinge
which is
on
what
my
this lady-
freedom.
Which is
Yes,
what this
and then-
lady
and then
does,
they-
who thinks the moon is made of cheese.
And when you realize,
She might as well have said the moon is made of cheese,
and do you know who actually
which produces
At least cheese is
gases,
solid.
and-
which you true, but full of holes and will produce gas if you eat too much of it. Oh!
And do you know? And actually, do you know who actually made this point, which was actually becoming one of my favorite senators? Was John Fetterman from Pennsylvania,
Oh,
Democrat. He actually
He's like actually an OG.
Thanks, John Fetterman.
he's like, okay, listen, I'll be honest.
He breaks all the rules. Wears sweatshirts just to
With his Carhartt on the Senate floor. But no, like,
waves Israeli flags around in front of Palestinians.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Bro, the dude is just
he gives
he does
zero
whatever
shit.
he
wants.
He typifies the meme of when like somebody does something and then like those floating glasses come on. And it's like that is John Fetterman in a meme format.
Well, he just gives absolutely zero shit, and I do respect that. And frankly,
he's like, dude, I've had like 5 strokes. I just don't
Yeah,
care anymore.
well, I
I
He's
think
here
just
for a
don't
good
care.
time, not a long time.
I think no, but I think the thing is with him, he was doing an interview, and he was just like, "Yeah, we are really not sending our best to Congress. These people are fucking idiots." And it's just like, yes, preach. And honestly, frankly, if I think the Democratic Party nationally, I think they would be in much better shape if they listened to the Pennsylvania Democratic Party.
Yeah,
Not
they're
ju-
moderates.
Not just Fetterman, like the governor Josh Shapiro is extremely pro school choice, and some radical protesters were wanting to get rid of a statue of William Penn in Philadelphia.
Why?
Because
why?
because in his era, I think like in his era, people owned slaves, and I'm like, of course they did. It was 100 years before the country was even founded. Okay, and the governor Josh Shapiro was just like, no, that's not happening. That statue is staying.
the way he's like, the way you phrase it, it's like it's because it was 100 years before the country was founded. Okay, it's just like the amount of just like pure disdain in your voice for the fictional dumb person you're speaking to.
polite disdain.
It's like-
But no, so it's just so they wanted to get rid of this statue, and Josh Shapiro, the Democrat governor of Pennsylvania, was just like, "This is William Penn, Pennsylvania."
That's pretty funny.
No, the statue is staying in Philly.
Dude,
okay?
I just
like-
envisioned that as you're talking about this with us, I just feel like there's a person with green or blue hair standing in front of you. This is who you're talking to when you say this. Like you're clearly too stupid. You don't even understand
Like-
the origin of how
I feel like
the
you're
name
so
of the
close
state
to like
came about.
willing this person into being.
Huh?
You're like manifesting. You're
Yeah, you
manifesting
manifest
this individual that you hate
because
so
the
much.
level of stupid. Like sometimes I wish I could just have a lobotomy so I can just be as stupid as everybody else and live a happy life.
I just imagine like there's a person
No more
with blue
logic
hair.
brick roads.
Huh?
No more logic brick roads.
No more logic brick
No,
road.
we love your
just
we
love
love your
Logic
logic
Brick
brick
Road.
roads.
I-
Let's all skip down together. But I just imagine like there's like a blue-haired person and who just like goes like, why do we even call it Pennsylvania?
because
It's like because of William Penn, Penn, Pennsylvania.
William Penn in the 1630s, you fucking moron. Like seriously, what do they teach you in history classes anymore?
Nobody likes history. That's all.
Actually,
Wow, why
if
not?
you really want to know the true history, originally it was Penisvania.
What?
No, fuck off.
Fuck
This
off.
can't be real.
Yeah.
It
No.
started off as Penisvania, and then all the conservatives came in and wouldn't let the gay people bang each other anymore.
You're
Oh,
so
is this
full
an
of
is this an attempt at a joke, Discount Jake?
Yeah, it didn't go as well as I thought it would.
Yeah,
I
let's
thought
see.
I'd
Did
be
you
on the
try to be
fly, and
me
I
and
really
it didn't
couldn't.
work out?
Let's
Yeah,
leave
my
the
logic
humor.
brick road
Let's
is
leave the
missing a
humor
few
component
stones.
to the guy here. Discount Jamie. Just look up facts.
Hashtag facts.
I'll do my best.
Not alternative. But yeah. So anyway, so that's how this. What's her name again? Jessica Lee.
Sheila Jackson.
Sheila
Jamie Lee
Jackson
Curtis.
Lee.
No, just kidding.
Oh,
Sheila
Jackson Lee.
Sheila Jackson Lee. So that's Yale graduate Sheila Jackson Lee thinks the moon is made of gas.
Wonderful.
Wow, we are doing stupendous in America right now. Let me tell you, stupendous that we have leaders who. I also found it interesting the point of she is in the middle and heartland of Spaceville.
Yes.
NASA is in Houston.
I always
And she represents that city, and she clearly knows nothing about space. Now, we all have a gaffe. We all have a faux pas here
But do you
and
think the
there.
space
but-
lobby likes that?
Discount Jamie is saying that there's a recorded history of her saying dumb shit.
Yeah,
She's
this
just
is not
dumb.
like a momentary lapse. She has been consistently saying this kind of nonsense for many years.
So,
This
I
is not
mean,
new.
how, like, you came up with you said there was this one idea, but legitimately, I guess this brings up a thing. I mean, this is just a funny interlude, a funny faux pas that we're all having a chuckle about, okay? And we get to say, yeah, Americans were stupid. We elect stupid people. There's reasons for that. We've discussed it. Well, I guess what is the solution? How do we really get better people? Is there a way to get better people into politics?
Average people.
T.
Well, firstly, average people have got to start actually being interested in politics.
And how does one do that?
Stop treating politics like they're a sports team.
That's not going to happen.
So no,
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I can tell you
what
right now, we
country in
love
the
our
world
sports.
and okay,
has
okay,
this
okay.
kind of
Then
engagement?
then it has to start young, and I'm talking about actual good civic education in schools, which just doesn't exist anymore. It just doesn't. And
Well, you can't even say the Pledge of Allegiance really
no, well,
anymore.
yeah, but that's where it all starts. You need to understand how this country is founded, why this country is founded, why our country is structured the way that it is structured.
You can also teach both sides of history.
Yes, you
You
can.
can explain
you
here's
can.
why our country's so great, but also we had issues. Here are the
Mhm.
issues. Here are the important people that you need to know about that helped reform the country. Here are some of the people that were the reasons why the country was that way. Here's the reason why the country was that way. It wasn't just because everybody was evil or anything. Like there's a lot of other structures and things of just general human history
Mm-hmm.
of why things were the way they were. It wasn't like just all of a sudden a bunch of white people from fucking England came over to the America and were just like, hey, let's I don't like working. Like, let's just get other people to work for us. Hey, I found these black people over on this other place. Ah, yeah, bring them over. It's like that's not what happened. Right?
No, it was.
Slavery has been going on since humans have existed.
It's still going on today.
It's not like it was. It
It's-
just came out of thin air.
It's
The concept of slavery.
it's still going on today.
Yeah, it's still happening.
Slavery is the oldest sin in human history. It's disgusting, but it's always been there. And
Right.
the way this country came about really was kind of a big bang in a sense. It was a lot of European nations squabbling over because the British we're not the only ones who were here. The Dutch were the people who originally owned Manhattan. The French owned French Canada. Spain was up into Florida and into
Louisiana and all there.
California,
And then the French.
and the French as well. So it could this continent could have and if the 7 Years' War had gone differently, this could have been a French continent, not an English one. And you would have inherited a French system of thinking, a French legal system, a French view of democracy, which, given all of the trials and tribulations of the French Revolution, I don't actually think might have been a good thing.
No, probably
You
not.
know, and so so I think it has to start first with a real re-examination of civic education all the way from elementary school, and then the average citizen has got to start thinking outside the boundaries of this political party is my sports team. I get blindly following sports teams. It doesn't matter how horrendous a player is, I will always love two teams, Manchester United and the Green Bay Packers. Okay? I will always love them. That shouldn't be
We
the
all
way
have flaws.
That should not be. That should not be. That should not be the way you view politics. You need look at the issues. Look at what every candidate is advocating for, and see what best suits you. Don't just be like, well, my family's always voted Democrat or my family's always voted Republican, so therefore I
Yeah,
vote
but
that
that's
way.
what's convenient.
I know it's what's
And in
convenient,
America, we
bro.
love our convenience.
You do. You do.
We love
You can't
convenience.
even be bothered to walk
True.
into a bank. That's what really amazed me about this country. You have drive-throughs for a bank. You
Yeah.
can't get off your ass
And then
not
after
to
that-
go
outside of
into
America?
a bank.
And after that, we go through a drive-through for our burgers.
Yes,
and
yeah, drive-through for
and
your
s-
yes, for
and super
you want
gulps.
everything 5 minutes, 5 minutes, baby, 5
Because
minutes, and it's just like
we want to get the money that's going to pay for our eventual diabetes. That's what we want. That's what we
yeah,
want.
but you can't get off your fat ass to
We
go
live fast
into
and
the
loose,
bank.
baby. We're fast and loose over here.
I get it. I get it. But it's just like, yeah, but no, it's people have got to be more civically involved. Actually do your homework, give a shit. Like, these people who are running for politics, they do actually have power of your lives. And by the description of Alexis de Tocqueville, a lot of these are dumb sociopaths. So pay attention.
Mm.
Pay attention.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't.
Sorry.
Discount Jamie, do you agree with T's assessment, or do you have any other ideas on how we fix this problem
mean-
of dealing with Sheila Jackson Lee's talking about the moon being made of cheese and gas?
I broadly agree that we should have more civic education to, K through 12 kids, right? I mean, for sure. I'm not totally convinced that would increase civic involvement later in life to a non-trivial degree, but I think it would be a good thing regardless. I think this is just like not a solvable thing. Like, you look at other countries around the world, and like outside of like teeny tiny city states, nobody has solved this. And nobody has solved this because most people are just really stupid.
Or they just don't care.
Both.
They don't
Yeah.
care. Like, you
I would
can't.
rather I would rather have people not care than people be stupid and care.
Fair, but
Okay.
that's interesting that you say that. But in any regard, it's impossible to really make an entire citizenry be knowledgeable enough to really make educated determinations on candidates or issues.
And this is a
So
fundamental flaw of
there will be a
democracy.
bunch of people
Yes.
that'll really investigate an issue, and they'll and the nice thing about social media and society or whatever is that at least people who actually do the research and everything can get out into spaces like here on YouTube, whatever, and share their ideas. So ideally, it reaches enough of the people some way, somehow, so that they're a little bit more educated and maybe they think about it before they go and make a vote or think about it, or vote on an issue or something like this. But it's just way too difficult to spend that amount of time to really research every major issue critically. That's why, as we aforementioned, the Democrats focus on certain issues that matter the most to certain people because they know those people will care enough about that issue. They will vote a certain way just because of that one issue. Which is why you say over here, oh, well, the European countries can't imagine why we care about this stuff. It's because this is what matters in this country because of what has happened recently in certain areas and stuff like this. But I would say even that issue isn't the biggest one. Immigration, I think, is the biggest issue right now for all of America. But there's-
Immigration and the economy.
Yeah, for 100%. But there are all these other things. So anyway, it's just interesting. But I think there's always been this grander conversation about Congress people like this saying dumb shit
Yeah,
all
this
the
is not
time,
new.
and then we always
Yeah.
go, why are these people in positions of power? It's like there's obvious reasons and obvious answers why these people are in the positions of power that they are. You just have to try and do our best
Uh-huh.
to have candidates also in there that are better. So there's some
We
sort
should
of
aim for
of a
better.
balance.
We should aim for better, but that's only going to start that we're only going to get better if we are better ourselves
Right.
in our own lives.
That is a Herculean task to do.
I know,
Yeah.
and that is why culture is so important.
Because it's hard. It's hard to research and learn. I don't want to do it. That's America in a nutshell.
Well, then
Uh,
if you don't want to do it, then like maybe don't vote.
A lot of people don't.
And that's fine. Listen, if you don't, for me personally, if you genuinely don't care, if you genuinely cannot see how politics affects your everyday lives, or you just don't give a shit, you know, democracy, voting, it's a choice. You can choose to exercise that vote, and if you choose not to, that's also in a way a vote.
Yeah. I
You
think
know?
that what we need to do is increase the barriers for people voting broadly. Voting should come at a cost. Not necessarily a financial cost or something else cost, but you should have to overcome some hurdle. You should have to say, like, I care about voting enough that I will allow myself to be inconvenienced to some degree in order to do this thing because it is important.
Actually, do you know what? One topic that is always overlooked, but I've seen this in a few debates and lecture series that that a lot of people overlook, but is actually quite important. It was back when this country was founded. It wasn't just white men who could vote; it was white
Property owning.
property owning men. That was
People that had
So
swing
now let's
states.
just take out the white part.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yes, because we don't want to be racist.
Of
Keith.
course,
Yeah,
of
we don't
course.
want to be
No, no, no.
racist.
No. But I think a property owning component could actually be a good thing.
Well, then I could.
A lot.
Yeah.
Well, a lot.
Not
I don't like
property
that.
owning, but like
like
having
that
some
rule.
like
A lot.
engagement,
Well, a
having
lot.
something to lose.
Yeah.
I was
think
going to
always say that's
propose
often
like you have to
overlooked.
take just like you would for a driver's license or like some other certification that you should have to take like a test every 4 or 5 years.
Here's an interesting one.
A civics test
Here's an interesting one. You
every
can
4 or
only
5
vote-
years. It's not like super long, but like half an hour. Some basic questions. You have to know some stuff, and
You
then
can only vote if either A, you are married with kids, or B, there is some reason why you are unable to be married with kids.
Nope.
That's too complicated.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Why?
You're gonna get people scamming the shit out of that, dude.
How?
You could come up with any reason why you.
See,
you're not
I-
married
I-
with
let's
kids.
assume that there was
The
some
dating
reasonable way to
market's
vet
too
people.
hard.
No, let's just say there was some reason. No, because then because then you have kids. Presumably, you like your kids. You realize that your vote affects other people. A, B, it incentivizes people to get married and have kids, which is a good thing, I think. Like these are the
We
people
don't
who
live
have
in
children.
Southeast Asia where
Having
these
children-
rules
I
can
see
happen.
that.
Having
I see
children
that.
is, people that have children are broadly more engaged with the community and society.
It goes.
They have more at stake.
That is the antithesis of America. Your idea, as much as it's a wonderful idea to utopian.
Yeah, I mean, we're just speculating here now. We're not saying
we're
this is
speculating.
gonna
Like,
happen.
there's no way that would ever fly.
honestly, if property ownership is too much of a stretch, which I think realistically now, yes, it is, because too many people are now used to voting. What I think would be a good thing. It would just be simple, okay? For the month of an election, if you want to vote, you have to show up personally to a voting booth, and like they do in Indiana, you have to sign an affidavit saying you are who you are. You have to show proof of ID that you live in that district, and sign an affidavit saying you are who you are. I don't understand why that is so complicated.
Yeah, just you have to have an ID. I mean,
Well, that's not
honest-
much of a barrier. What we could do, the other thing, is you
On a-
could allow people, or you should force people to vote more than once. You should say these 5 days at these times the polls will be open. If you want to vote, you have to show up every one of these days and vote in the same way that you did.
What?
no,
because
way.
this forces people to overcome some barrier. It's not trivial to vote anymore. Only people that care enough to do this
That'll not
will
work.
do this.
That'll never work.
Really? Why not?
Yeah, people will give up.
See,
They'll-
honestly,
Well, that's the whole point. The whole point is that people will give up.
you don't want that.
We do.
That's
though.
actually worse.
no,
No, that's
see,
totally worse.
See, honestly, okay, when I voted in England, okay, you had to not only bring photo ID, you had to bring, I think it was either 1 or 2 pieces of mail to back up the ID that prove that you lived in that constituency.
Yeah,
Because
there's some things where you have to do that initially.
Yeah.
Here, but afterwards, it's easy to scam after that. So
Yeah, and that's the other thing is it's like honestly vote by mail is something I'm extremely nervous about.
well, I mean, it's just there's a lot of things that when we
Yeah,
there's
sorry,
a lot of
yeah,
things.
we've gone off
There's a
the
lot of
topic,
things.
yeah.
We're off the
Yeah,
rails talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
voting now,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
it's yeah, there's a lot of things about that. But the end result is we get Sheila Jackson Lee's here.
Yeah,
And
that's not
and that's and they talking about moons being made of gases and
Yeah.
that you can live on some gases, but is it okay to live on the gas? We don't know because we've not been there because I went to NASA and they wouldn't show me the photo. So, but that's you know, wow, crazy stuff. You know what I would be a proponent for? We send all the dumb people to the moon and let them colonize, much like how the British sent all the criminals to Australia.
Oh,
and then give them a little bit of time to eventually become. Well, they have to sort things out amongst themselves. Eventually, they become a decent group of people,
and they have been calling us pommy bastards and kicking our ass in cricket and rugby ever since.
The other major topic we were talking about was the new movie that just came out, Civil War, which we already did a video about. Go check it out. We'll have it posted in the end clips and in the description of this video, where we reviewed the trailer and we're trying to hypothesize what would this movie be about, and is America heading to a state of civil war, and what could we theorize that this movie is going to be about? Well, the movie's out, and at least from all the reviews and everything, I have not watched the film, but I have watched plenty of reviews on YouTube, and read about them from a variety of sources, including some I trust. And it appears the movie from the trailer that we all thought it was is not exactly what the actual movie was, which is interesting. Now, we were talking about this before we started the podcast, and you had some interesting thoughts. Discount Jamie, you've also not seen the movie, but you also had watched or read quite a few reviews.
I mean, I read the Wikipedia summary. It wasn't really a review. It was just a summary.
Okay, so this is great. So you've watched it.
Yes.
I've watched many reviews, and you are coming in almost completely clean slate of not really 100%.
I mean, I know the premise and I know the plot.
Perfect. So, 3 different states of being in mind. So T, tell us in your own words, if you would please, what you thought of the film since you actually watched it and what you thought it was about.
Okay. I think
And the general thoughts on the discourse of how it deals with America today and so on and so forth. And yada yada.
I think that it was a genuine, good-natured attempt by mainstream liberals in Hollywood who did not want to present an overtly one-sided movie to say to America, if we have to say to America, do you really want a civil war? Because this would be the reality. And there was quite a few scenes in it in which the reality of an actual civil war would really be quite horrific. Like really horrific. Whether it's vigilantes stringing up what they call looters, when in fact it was just a couple of guys trying to steal a couple loaves of bread to feed the family, right? Or do you really want to see the Lincoln Memorial getting firebombed? But in their effort to try to be neutral, they still couldn't help but reveal their biases. And my fear is that their honest, good-natured attempt to be neutral might backfire because they're obviously in an environment where everybody thinks the same way, but they can't help but be like, well, everyone knows who the bad guy is going to be, right? You know? It's like you can tell in the opening segments. I mean, firstly, the Nick Offerman president character, he's barely in this movie. He's in the first scene and the last scene. But,
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. No, yeah, spoiler.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
guys. Spoiler alert. But he's clearly a Trump-like presidential figure. Okay, and that's very clear in the choice of language in the speech. And the premise is that he's a president who illegally enacts a third term, which of course cannot happen. That will never happen in the American system, and decides to launch missiles at American citizens who protest, and tries to shut down the FBI and attacks members of the press. And so you can clearly see who they think is the bad guy in this scenario. Okay. And the heroes of the story are four war press photographers who make a road trip from war-torn New York down to Washington as the hero Western forces, in all their diversity, take down and ultimately kill the Trump-like presidential figure.
Spoiler alert.
That is essentially the film. And whilst it really does a good job in portraying the horrors of what a civil war would actually look like, my main fear is that, like I said, their attempt to be neutral is clouded by the fact that they clearly are surrounded by people who all think the same way. If that makes sense.
So if you were to summarize the reasons that you think this is like has a leftist lilt, what would those reasons be? You said you felt that Nick Offerman's president was clearly Trumpian.
Yes.
What were the other major ones? Or was it just that?
All the bad guys were clearly in what they view Trump supporters to be.
Like stereotypical, like
So for this,
racist,
so there's
whatever.
one scene, the one I was describing to you, of the looter, of the guys who hang the looters. Okay, the people doing the hanging are clearly like a redneck militia group.
Okay.
Okay. There's a very famous scene in Jesse Plemons, who, of course,
I love that guy.
in every movie he's in, he steals the show through sheer acting talent. Okay. But there's a scene where he's clearly government forces for the Trump-like president, and they come across these journalists that they are then about to execute, whilst they're burying a mass grave of their victims, if that makes sense. And so the photojournalists have to step in to rescue their friends from these big evil, like, Republican Army guys. And it's quite clear, and there's little bits like, these people were massacred, or these people were massacred, and but the only ones that are doing the massacring are like people that you would associate as being on the right.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's interesting.
You know.
So that's very interesting that you say all that.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, but I do want to preface it. I sincerely do that. I don't think they're trying. They're really not trying to be one-sided. They're trying not to, but they just can't help themselves because they're clearly
They all sat in a room and they're like,
They're
"Okay, guys, we're
trying."
really gonna try and be neutral. Okay, let's all be
Yes.
neutral this time. Like, let's legitimately try. Okay, we're gonna try. All right. So how are we gonna start this off? The president's like Trump. No, we can't. No, we said neutral.
Seriously, I do think that's
Neutral.
what this is probably what
Okay.
what the writers' room is like.
All right, so like
I
there's
would
these
not be
there's this
surprised.
group of like militia guys. All right, I love it. Okay, there's these militia guys and there's some people trying to steal stuff from them. Perfect. I love this. Go. Keep going. And so they hang them. All right, bit much, but cool. Keep it going. And like they're like rednecks from the South and they love Trump. No, we can't. No, stop it. You can't do that. I'm
know,
trying to be neutral here.
But honestly, like the level of schizophrenia that you just exhibited was probably the writers' room on this film.
Well, it's
Like
interesting.
they were, I think Alexander. So the filmmaker, the guy who directed the film was Alex Garland. He did like Ex Machina and films like so he always has really interesting takes on like modern life. And I do think that a film like this was really worth being made because the level of vitriolic partisanship in America right now is really quite disturbing because I genuinely love America and everybody in it, and like I think you're a great
Wait,
country.
everybody? Really?
Well, okay, the vast majority. But like I do genuinely think that you're a great country and the vast majority of Americans are really good and decent people. And from a foreign perspective or someone who didn't grow up here, it's really heartbreaking to see you all tear each other apart. And I really don't want something like this to happen. I think Alex Garland probably had that same perspective and he was trying really hard to he was trying I do genuinely think he was trying really hard to be neutral.
Well, I don't mean to completely burst your bubble.
I know, but fucking burst away. That's what you
But
love to do.
in all fairness, well, that sounded more sexual than I wanted it to sound. I don't want to get anywhere near your bubble, boy. Okay, no one here's calling you daddy. Okay.
Ew.
The joke that keeps on getting. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Diddy.
Cheers, Diddy.
that should be a thing. Thanks. Be Diddy. And it should just be constantly just bad things that happen. And then
Yeah.
excuse me. So like I said, I didn't watch the film. I might still, but
It is worth
I did
watching.
I did watch a lot of reviews of people I trust, who are movie reviewers. A few shout outs: Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, and a few others. And I also watched clips of the director actually talk about it. So really, he wrote this in 2019. He said.
In 2019.
So this is prior to all these other things. Now they did say like
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah. So he did say like at some point was they were kind of revising some things. January 6th did kind of come into play at some point.
Of course.
But really, you are correct. He was trying to be like super neutral, but it's really more in the sense of the whole movie, from what I've heard from the plot and everything, didn't really actually focus too much on the Civil War, like the origins of it or anything like that. It's just
No,
kind of like,
that
hey,
was never
America is in a civil war right
Yes.
now. That's that.
We don't know how,
Which
we
is
don't know
actually-
why, but
Which is actually, in some cases, good filmmaking. Like, you don't need to know all the details. You just need to be like, hey, here's a world that exists, and here are the people in it, and this is what they're going to try and accomplish. And apparently, he really wanted to focus on war journalists being heroes, and that's why the focus is really all on them.
on the
And now,
journalists.
the reviewers who I watch, they have different concepts and ideas about the character development and some things being good, some things being bad. Overall, the general consensus was it's an okay film. Entertaining, but kind of like, and also left very ambiguously, so that as an audience, you take, you think the way you want to think about what it means,
True.
which is the art of it all. You see,
Hmm.
it makes you think.
Well,
But-
I do think a plus is that like no one was perfectly happy with this film from both ideological grounds. People on the left were really unhappy because they didn't think that it was anti-Trump enough, and people on the right were really unhappy because they were like, "This is obviously Trump." So the fact that it
Which
didn't...
means it's probably good.
yeah,
from that
I
perspective.
like that.
It makes people think. It doesn't make anybody 100%
Yes.
happy. But I think what's
I like it
interesting.
when both sides are not happy.
Yeah, but I think what's interesting about, and it clearly, there's like certain things that just like don't make sense, because so it's clearly in a different world. Like California and Texas would never be on the same side.
I like that they did that though. I think
Well,
mean,
they
that's
did
what I'm saying. It's a
change-
different world.
They
right?
did change that. So you're still going off the advertisement from when we reviewed the preview a few
Oh,
months
so
ago.
that did change.
They did change, and that has changed recently. So it used to be, I think it was Republic of California, Republic of Texas, the Florida Alliance, and the Loyalist states and the Western Forces. So basically, what happened is the Republic of California gave way, and now the whole West Coast is just the Western Forces. And ran by Portland, so I'm not sure if that's so great. And then
that's definitely not great.
no, and then you had the
Definitely
Republic,
bad.
then the Republic of Texas and the Florida Alliance was still kind of like allied, which would make more sense in
That
a real
definitely
world.
makes a lot of sense.
And then the Loyalist states were basically the Northeast and the Midwest. Which I could see. I could see.
Because
No,
that
the
is
Northeast
different than
is
like the
definitely
maps
not.
that they were putting out. So they changed that quite late.
Yeah,
Then.
Yeah,
that's
they
yeah,
changed. I think
changed that.
they changed it about a month ago, just before the film was being released, because
Oh,
from what I've read, it was because they were getting a lot of pushback online over the fact that the Republic of Texas and California would never be allied
Right,
in a
right.
million years.
Well, that's true. That's
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah,
That they
yeah.
definitely would not. But yeah, so I think what's interesting from what I heard and what I reviewed and what I saw of clips of the film and stuff like this is that the focus really is on like these war journalists and not so much that, and really like what war journalists go through. And what the director was talking about really was wanting to pinpoint and highlight the issues that he was seeing with journalism in America. That actually was the focal point. And I was interesting that he made reference a few times to how journalism is becoming way more like propaganda these days, which is why you should watch more Men of the Times. But that people, it really has become more of a propaganda machine where really it was supposed to be a check and balance on what is happening in government, hence showing, what's going on in this civil war and what are the real things that are actually happening to educate the populace and show what the actual crazy leader is actually doing and saying behind closed doors and things.
Well, it's very interesting you
So
bring that up, particularly with the state of NPR right now. Did you hear about that?
no,
Okay. I forget. Look up his name if you could, Discount Jamie.
yeah, I was just reading about this recently.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
He's a stalwart old school NPR editor that had been there for like 25 years. And like last week in an interview, he was just like, yeah, NPR has gone way too far to the left, especially after the election of Donald Trump in 2016. And that's fine for certain platforms, but seen as that
Yuri Berliner.
but seeing as we're a public platform that's funded by the federal government, we have an obligation to at least try to listen to all sides because we're publicly funded.
yes,
And
that seems like a reasonable perspective.
and then the CEO, and then there's this. I think she might be a new CEO of NPR. She publicly admonished him to basically made it impossible for him to stay there, and he quit today. And Barry Weiss, Barry Weiss and the Free Press, these people, these are just old school constitutional liberals who cared about the actual practice of journalism.
No, they're just actual liberals.
They're actual, yes, just actual liberals.
There's a
actual
distinction
liberals.
between liberals and
Radical.
the rest of them.
Yeah,
at
yes,
this point.
yes.
Progressives and liberals used to be the same, but now they are distinctly different.
Yeah, the progressives are purging the liberals from the institutions.
Like the progressives are becoming radical, and
Yes.
the liberals are looking at them going, "We used to be you in like the 60s and 70s,
Yes,
and
yeah.
now you're saying we're conservative."
Yeah, yeah.
What?
Oh,
It's literally like that meme Elon Musk posted.
Yes, yeah,
It's literally
yeah.
just the line has been moved so far.
And
that
Elon's just like, I'm
it's
a
wild.
normal guy from 20 years ago. What
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know. And so he's officially been fired from NPR.
Well,
Well, that's the whole point of this.
My understanding is that he actually resigned.
He resigned.
Well-
So no. Well, okay. So I read this, and this is reasonable, right? So NPR prohibits its journalists from like just randomly going off and publishing on other sites without talking to them first or getting it cleared, which he clearly did.
Yeah.
Right. And they warned him, don't do this again or we're going to fire you. And then he resigned. Now, I'm sure there was plenty of other animosity directed at him from NPR. But like to say that NPR fired him for no cause, like he did violate this frankly important policy. So,
Right.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that makes sense. But again, it just goes to the point of this film as well, is that how media in America used to be vastly different and trusted and well respected. And you could go to various different channels and feel like you could get actual news. And now as the director was saying, and a lot of these other pundits and people that I watched that gave reviews, they're saying, journalism today is not. It's just not what it was.
No.
It's clearly mouthpieces for the establishment, for the potentially, you could say, the elites, corporate interests, things like this. It's not
Or the political parties.
right.
Yeah.
It's not like what it is in this film. Real journalists trying to show the people what's actually going on, what's real, what's actually happening,
And that was
trying to keep the power in check. It's almost, the media in some cases, why it's so important to have that in the First Amendment, to have freedom of press. In addition
Yes.
to freedom of speech, the freedom to protest, the freedom of religion, so on and so forth, is to allow. It's almost like a fourth check and balance, right, from the three branches of government, right? You
That
have
was
the
what the press was meant
legislative,
to
executive, and
judicial.
judicial,
Yeah.
but then the press is almost like a fourth check because the press can
Yeah.
start
Yes.
comment on all three of them and
Mhm.
tell the people what's going on, who have the power to vote in at least the two of those branches that will make decisions necessarily on that third branch. So it all, it should all work in harmony. So when you have certain functions and facets of those branches now working in cahoots together, if you will, it can start to bring down
Yes.
the tenets. And I think that's where the real worry of a theoretical civil war could happen, is when and that is something we're seeing now, where the people are looking at media and they're going, you're not really doing your job. The numbers, I mean, I think the media in some cases is either right at or has lower numbers than even politicians do at this point. I mean, that's sad. That is sad.
I know, but the power that they still have is
But do they?
I do. I think so.
What power? I mean, like, in all fairness,
Boomers.
no, I don't even think so. I don't even
See,
think so
I,
so much.
okay, see,
I think just
I
like you were saying earlier, like for the boomers, it's sports. Politics is sports. They watch the Fox Newses. It's like that Shane Gillis joke about, oh, you could have a Fox News dad. That's a good dad.
yeah.
You have a Fox News mom. That's crazy. That's not good. Right? It's like that's that joke,
My
right?
mom is a Fox
Like
News mom.
you want an MSNBC mom and
So
a
do
Fox News
mine.
dad. It's like
Yeah.
it's like that's what that's about. It's like this new generation, right? They're going and they're watching the Joe Rogan Experience. They're watching Tucker Carlson. They're watching PBD. They're watching Tim Pool. They're watching Shapiro. They're watching Media Matters for folks on their side. They're going to these alternative. They're watching Men of the Times podcast.
They're watching. Yes. they're watching the Daily Wire or Crooked Media, which is the Pod Save America bros.
Yeah, they're going to people
millennials
like that.
down are getting podcasts.
They're
That's how
going
I
to
get my
independent
news.
journalists. There are some
Yes,
journalists on like Facebook and stuff I found who actually go and do actual journalism, and I watch them, and they do an actual thing. And it's this one guy in particular, I forget his name. Wish I could plug him. I forgot his name, but he does like immersive journalism, where he goes and he does a whole segment on a thing, and he shows you like what's actually happening. He did one here in Chicago
Who is
about the
this?
migrants. I don't remember his name, but his stuff pops up sometimes on my Facebook feed, and I'll watch some of it if I find it interesting enough. And like he does actual journalism, and he does like a whole 30-minute to an hour show, and he goes somewhere.
Is he a bald
experience it.
guy?
Yeah.
Wears a hat a lot.
I don't know if he wears a hat all the time, but I'm pretty sure he's bald.
Yeah, he's done
But-
some very interesting stories about Vegas as well.
He's
Yeah.
done a lot of
I
he's
think
done a lot of things. He did
if-
one about Hasidic Jews in New York. I mean, he's done a lot of interesting things
Really?
I watched. Yeah. So it's just very
So what Vice
very
used to
interesting.
be.
My point is, like, there are people out there that do that. Like Andy No is another
Yeah.
one, right? Like, who got into the whole Antifa problems and everything like that. Like, there are people out there, but a lot of
Actually,
people
that
are
was
now
a
moving into
controversy
that.
about the Civil War movie. A lot of people on the left were furious that Alex Garland, the director, used some Andy No footage when he was reporting on Antifa. They
I
were
mean,
furious about
I
it.
could give two shits if they're upset
I
about
know,
that.
I know. It's just
Antifa
very
are
interesting.
terrible people, and they should be recognized as a domestic terrorist group, which I think they might be. Fuck them.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned,
I
screw
know.
them.
I was just saying that people on the left.
Yeah, no, I
were,
understand.
because
And
they
screw
could be
them
brought
too.
up, I know,
Screw
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Oh no, because Antifa means they're just anti-fascist. Then why are they the ones being fascist? Shut the fuck up, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Anybody who says I can't say what I want to say is fascist. Shut up, dude. Fuck. dumbest argument I've ever heard. Just anti-fascist. Okay, weirdo. Think you need to. What does fascism mean? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
to Diddy's house and make that noise. That's the joke. It's a joke that keeps on giving.
I know, right? I know.
Oh man. But yeah. So I mean, I just found that I think I might watch the film. I gotta watch Dune 2 first. But
Dune 2 is so good.
yeah, I gotta watch.
It's
it.
amazing.
So
I love
Yeah.
the Dune series.
I gotta go next week.
It's getting up there with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I gotta
you
go.
know.
I gotta go next week and watch it on one of my free days.
You have
But-
to see it in the cinema.
That's why I need to go next week.
Okay.
I imagine it'll still be out for at least another month. Is my
Mm.
guess. But I need to go within the next 2 weeks, or else I'll probably miss it, and then I'll be very upset with myself. But anyway, I also want to potentially watch this. But after I've watched some of the reviews and stuff, I'm like, maybe I don't need to, because I trust the guys who I watch in terms of reviews, and
I say
it's interesting.
It's a movie that could probably wait for home.
That's why. That's also one
Mm.
thing. Like, I don't think I want to really spend money to go see.
Yeah,
it.
don't
but-
don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think it's an important film, but it's not. I'm not. I don't think it's Oscar worthy.
Is it really
N-
important though?
I do.
I mean, in all fairness, even if you watch this, like, again, like the
I
appetite
think
for
it's.
any
I think it's
civil war. We talked
important-
about this last time. Like the appetite for any civil war, like nobody really wants. That, right?
Okay. I just the reason why it's important because it really does reflect our cultural times. Do I think it's Oscar worthy? No, but it's important that
it's
a film.
relevant.
It's important. People will look.
Well, I heard
back.
the acting is actually quite good for the
Oh
most
yeah,
part.
it's Wagner Moura and
Kirsten Dunst.
and of course, like I said, Jesse Plemons steals any scene he's ever in because he's just so damn good.
What else? What else is he in?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
He was also in The Irishman,
Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Flowers of the
Killers of the
Killer
Flower
Moon,
Moon, whatever
Killers
that
of the
one is.
Flower Moon.
I can't picture him in any of these things.
because he's so good. You
He
don't know
blends in
he's
so well.
yes,
Really?
Yeah.
yes,
Mm.
and that's why I
What was he in Breaking Bad?
in
He
Bre-
was like the
Yeah.
mini Nazi. He was like the affiliate of them or something.
He
Oh,
was the really. It's really weird to say, but he was in any other world he had been born into, or he would have been a really nice, lovely boy. But that was his character. But no, he would
Yeah,
act. He would
yeah.
act like a really nice, lovely boy, and then out of nowhere, just shoot Jesse's girlfriend on the porch.
Hmm.
Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
Have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah, I watched the whole series.
You
but
can't
I
remember that?
I can't
Really?
remember this guy.
Remember, he
Really?
was the one he shot that random like small child after they robbed the train.
Man,
He
really?
introduced Walt and Jesse to like the Aryan Brotherhood guys.
Who were his uncles?
Vastly
Who his
remember.
uncles,
Yeah,
yeah.
Vastly
yeah.
remember. Vaguely.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
have to
no,
go
no,
back
no,
and take a look.
but he was amazing in that, and yeah, I think he's probably one of the greatest actors working.
like
today.
a working actor.
Yes,
like one of those, like that one guy who always plays a military guy in like all those films, who's also bald. Like there's guys like that
Character actor.
who are character
actors,
actors
yes,
that are really great and steal scenes when they're in there, but like they're not ever the main guys.
Well, of course,
But
because
when they're in there, like, oh, this movie's gonna be amazing.
yes,
kind of a thing.
but probably because
Or at least every scene with them is gonna be.
probably because they're not aesthetically good looking enough,
Mm.
but they're also so good you see them as their characters.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen
Philip
Jesse-
Seymour Hoffman was like that.
Yes, yes.
Philip Seymour
Yes,
Hoffman. I
perfect
imagine like this guy's like
comparison.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, because like
Yes.
Philip Seymour Hoffman was not a good looking. Like he did get some major
He
roles,
did a
but he was
lot of
always like
lead
that.
roles, I think, right? Philip Seymour Hoffman.
He was in tons of
The
like he was
Potent.
he was
Like,
always
like a lead in a lot of things. I
he
think.
in some but
Yeah, but it was
but-
never a conventionally good looking character.
Fine.
right
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean like
yeah.
anything he ever did was, or like Paul Giamatti is another
Yes.
Mm.
one, right? Like they're not
Perfect.
good looking
Perfect.
dudes necessarily, but like they are just amazingly brilliant actors.
Yes.
And when there's the right type of role for them to be the lead, discount Jamie, they get cast immediately because
Mhm.
everyone in Hollywood knows they're perfect for this. We need actually someone like this. This guy's perfect. But
He
for
was
every
also-
other
yeah.
film, they're like, we're going to give him the role where we need like the best actor to pull these scenes together. Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Yes.
Jesse Plemons,
Yes.
Paul Giamatti.
Yes.
Because like
Because
Philip
they're-
Seymour Hoffman in like the Hunger Games like was the best.
Yes,
like he crushed everything. And
The
so
older
many films he crushed.
Sutherland was up there too, but
Yeah.
those two, yes.
The
But
Big
like,
Lebowski.
yes,
I mean, so many he was in.
yes, and absolutely, yeah. Jesse Plemons is that actor.
Oh,
He's
sir.
just- Yes, yeah.
His little laugh from the Big Lebowski.
Okay.
He played like the guy who
The
sucks
butler,
up to the
yeah.
Oh, sir, we don't touch the merchandise. He's so good at those films.
honestly,
Yeah.
this may sound controversial. Big Lebowski is one of my top 5 movies of all
Oh
time.
no, that's not controversial at all to say.
Everyone loves the Big Lebowski.
Everybody loves the Big Lebowski.
That humor,
The dude abides.
Hey, the dude abides, dude.
I mean, come on, man. That's my special rug, man.
Honestly, that movie is just me. That is my humor. That is my outlook on life.
It's not just you.
I love that
It's
movie.
any decent human being loves that movie.
Like John Goodman's character.
Yeah.
Shut up, Donnie.
When he
just pulls out his gun for no reason at random moments.
Or he throws the ashes out to the Pacific and it just goes straight back on the dude.
Spoiler alert.
I love that movie. The Coen brothers, amazing.
Yeah, the Coen brothers are good. Yeah. So,
Sorry.
anyways, you're not saying this movie is Coen brothers-esque, but
No.
it's
worth seeing, and it is
at home on Netflix.
Yes, and it is culturally important for our time and place. In
Yeah.
20 years, what I hope is in 20 years' time, we look back on this movie and be like, why did we make a fucking movie about a civil war 20 years ago? That is what I hope.
Or it'll be like a Simpsons did it moment, and like, wow, how prescient that there will be a Florida Alliance called the. I mean, I feel like if Florida was teaming up with other states to fight the government, they would call it the Florida Alliance.
Oh, 100%.
Yes. And then
the penis of America gets its name on the front. That's how this works.
And they would team up with the Republic of Texas because Texas cannot
nothing
be a republic.
Nothing is more patriarchy-esque than Florida, the penis of America, having their name at the front of any alliance that would secede.
But honestly, the Florida Alliance, bros look like everything you would imagine a Florida Alliance to be.
Really?
And I'd be like, I'd be like, yeah, man, these bros look cool. They're just like in Hawaiian shirts.
Seriously?
Yeah, with Kevlar, and they're clearly like massive libertarians who love to smoke weed. If there was a civil
so they got
war,
the
I'd be on
demographics
that
right.
scene.
They got the demographics
yeah.
correct. That's so funny. That's I've seen a lot of that in Florida.
Yeah.
Like, we're not in Hawaii, but
Florida,
it's close.
Florida is the state.
We can pull off this look.
Absolutely.
Not close literally, but close in spirit.
Absolutely.
Close in spirit. You've been there with me,
I have.
Discount Jamie. We saw a lot of that down there.
But yeah, it was. But that on the flip side of that, it will also show kind of like the horror of war, because everything we just described is funny and great. But there was this one scene where they took out these soldiers they had just captured, and they're clearly like laughing, smoking weed, having a great time, and in the background they're executing them. So that was the point of, like, for me, the biggest point of the movie was just like, yeah, okay, like, people might be with people they like and banding together and shit, but like civil war would be horrific. People would actually die, and do you actually want that? And that's what I think.
No, nobody wants that.
That was the main importance of the film.
We like convenience. We like to be chill. We don't want to really do any of these things unless it's somewhere else. Then we have no problem. But here, we don't want any of that. So I don't think anything is going to happen. But it's just interesting. Well, I just found it interesting what we thought it might have been when we did that video a while ago. Check it out in the description and comments. And like seeing it now, or hearing about it now, what it actually is, what it actually was about, I think vastly different. Like I think we thought it was going to be really more about like a civil war and how it started and and it's not. It's about journalism and the heroics of war journalists and what they were able to show and what they showed in history and
honestly,
where journalism is now. And
the
it's just
journalists, the war journalists especially, really are like proper journalists, like
proper heroes, honestly.
Yeah, they are.
Which is the point of what he's trying to say.
Proper journalist being the key term there, right?
Yes.
I think that there is an issue with like the lionization of journalists, right? A journalist should be proud of their work, and they should be proud of their work because their work is accurate and informative. They shouldn't be proud of their work because it's like, oh my god, like I uncovered this huge bombshell
Well,
and it's
it
me,
but it
right?
also that it
Mm.
When
really
you uncover
matters.
well, it's not just about mattering, but I feel like journalists like to insert themselves in these situations and do this like Hunter S. Thompson esque Gonzo thing, right?
Mm.
And that no, seriously, and that's great for
Yeah.
entertainment, but it's bad for like journalism. It's great when you're describing going to some race or your experience on a cruise ship or something else like interesting.
Steve Irwin-esque journalism. Oh, crikey, here we
Sure.
are in
Yeah,
Ukraine.
infotainment,
There's a
as
couple
it
of Nazis over there. Let's go talk to them. Be very careful when talking to Nazis.
But you know what? But
Like,
even that,
what?
I would say, even
Bro.
that, literally exactly as you've described it, I think is not bad, and I think is extremely interesting. Sort of like how Vice used to be back in the day when they were like going to North Korea and talking about the Liberian Civil War. Do you remember
Yeah.
that, the Liberian Civil War documentary on Vice? It's fucking awesome. There was no agenda. It was just wow, this thing is like fascinating and awful, and not enough people know about it, right?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
And the center point of all of those pieces was the topic. It was the content. It was what you were learning by watching it. It wasn't like, look at me and the stance I can take, right? And I feel like
Yes.
so much of journalism is
Yes.
that now. And again, this is just from me reading the summary on Wikipedia of Civil War. And I'm reading the summary and it's like, no, seriously. But no, like no, just hear me out. So you're a photojournalist, right? And a big thing in there, it seems, correct me if I'm wrong, Team, because you're one of us that's actually watched this. But they're
Okay.
taking all these pictures, right?
Yes.
And like, think, are the pictures that they are taking informative, or are they? Oh my god, that's so cool.
To prove a point or to get the most
Right?
amount of clicks.
What's important to document a
Okay.
thing
Okay.
for its emotions, or to document the thing for its facts?
Okay.
Well, both kind of matter
I think
depending
the
on.
facts matter a lot more, though.
Okay. Honestly,
Sometimes.
I honestly, from having seen the film, I think something that was very important is how they were trying to get across how, as war journalists, the journalists had it ingrained in their head not to get involved in the story. So, and
that's good. I like
as
that.
a marker of, and I do honestly, that for me is the biggest marker of proper journalism. So for the opening
Agreed.
credits, they gave the Kristen Dunst character a little flashback of her career to set up her character plot. And in one of the scenes, like, there was this really horrific scene where she was covering a war in either Africa or Latin America, and they shot dead one person, and they put a tire on the other and set it alight. And the person who's been set alight looks at her through the camera lens. You can see in his face he's saying, "Can you please help me?" But she stays out of it because her role as a journalist was just to report what they were doing. Now there was a couple of segments within the film where they seem to break that journalistic code, but once was to try and rescue a couple of their friends who were being executed by Jesse Plemons, and because they were stupid enough to make themselves part of the story. Okay. And they're at the end segment where they're having a shootout with the Secret Service in the White House. And the Kristen Dunst character saves the life of the younger journalist that she's protecting, but the journalist keeps on taking pictures what I think the point they're trying to make is that she has now become a an experienced photojournalist because she's just reporting the story, even though the story is the woman is dying trying to protect her.
Yeah, that's the analysis I heard from several of the reviewers who saw this as well.
Wikipedia
So
also
it
talks about that
is really
scene.
more. It
Oh,
really
does?
is more a movie talking about the state of journalism more than it is. They're just using a civil war as a backdrop, really, which is why they don't provide any more detail about it. It's like, there's a civil war happening in America. Here it is. It's going on. There's some cool fight scenes in a few places, but overall, it's like, hey, this is what journalists do. This is what journalism should be like. This is what journalism is turning into. Sensationalism, emotion, propaganda, proving a point where it should be what some of these folks in the film are doing, actually reporting the news, being factual, making you make up your own mind, showing you what's actually happening so you don't get sucked in by the propaganda coming from a crazy president who's doing crazy things, some other forces saying what they want to say, so on and so forth. So I think it's interesting, full circle of how we thought it was going to be versus what it ended up being about. Very different. It's worthwhile, kind of. I think maybe watching it if it's on Netflix, whatever, just kind of at least see it, make up your own mind, which is the whole point. It's left
Yeah.
very ambiguous, so you have broader conversations about it with people. But I think in general, since that's the point of it, I think it does have some good points in regards to what is the state of the U.S. today, where is it going, and is media nowadays perpetrating that kind of a timeline or that kind of a possibility more so than it would have before. Instead of being that fourth branch checking all the other branches, is it becoming a tool, an arm of some of the branches in order to weaponize visual and verbal and written materials towards making Americans dumber
Mm. Mm.
so that they vote certain ways and stuff and they don't investigate anymore? Whereas it used to help educate the populace. Is it really doing that anymore? Is it
Mm.
just making us dumber and dumber? And is that a whole plot? And now that gets us into whole other things, but I think, that's a conversation for another day. At least on that, recommend seeing the film.
Yes, but it can wait until it's on Netflix or Amazon.
Great. That's my recommendation too, because that's what I'll be doing. Discount Jamie's cool, just reading the Wikipedia summarization.
Pirate it or something.
Pirate it. This isn't 2004.
Yeah.
What are you doing? But yeah, so it's very interesting. So we talked about some very interesting things today. Got into some, I think, fun intellectual conversation about a lot of things, some solutions. But what we're really curious about is what you think out there. So let us know, what do you think about the state of our Congress people today? And did you see the movie Civil War? What do you think it's about? And do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us about anything we said? We want to open up the conversation and have the conversation with you as much as we're having the conversation here. So please let us know what you think, because we are men of the times, and we're not going to stop talking about the times because they're important and we need to be talking about them. And we hope you join us along the way. And until then, we'll see you next time.